animals now talk, and the earth yields milk and honey. Supernatural sounds emanate from him too. He feels himself a god. He himself now walks about.
This was a picture that Lothian buses put up yesterday, and it made me feel nostalgic. It made me feel momentarily nostalgic, and it just seemed like, I think John himself said in the reply, simpler time.
Loic offers a profound exploration of the intersection between technology, corporate power, and environmental decay. Once a vast, thriving landscape of
people. They put a missile in every kitchen, a rocket in every garage. I said to the people of Lebanon this week, get out of the death trap that Hezbollah has put you in.
My name is...
Want me a name, don't want me a body. From a young pup, be more than naughty. Up front like I'm riding shorty. I set these trends that you paste and copy. Nothing you do can stop me. Always game for a box like Rocky. We red on your top like a poppy. So where I grew up.
You the first motherfucker to jump to the trunk when it's time for funk. Little trick ass pump. Fuck motherfuckers don't die. We get high, we multiply, motherfucker. Give a holler to my niggas in the bank. I'm living in LA, still clutching on my AK. Rest in peace to my nigga Kato. Till they bury me, nigga Lato. Fuck for life.
I did this show in Edinburgh, and I had a very weird day in Scotland. About halfway through the month, I got a 4-star review from The Guardian. And it was the first 4-star review that The Guardian had given out for comedy last year. And it made a big difference. Like,
Citizens of Edinburgh have a responsibility to eject these parasites from the council, these neoliberal parasites, these political class impostors who are the servants of capital, who are the servants of private developers. Briefly, hi Elon Musk. I previously blocked you because I fucking hate you and didn't want to see your stupid, inane, red-pilled crap. You've
Hey, it's Diana, and this is Jabalia, one of many camps in Gaza, now turned into a battlefield. Homes, hospitals, and people buried.
You're going to be an adult, you're going to tell you, and you're going to sit down,
Go drink the wine, go to bed. You're not going to go and get more wine. You're not going to go out. You're going to be an adult. Hey, Marky boy. You can do this.
This guy should be the poster on every student's wall. This is the guy that should be on t-shirts and posters, because what he does at the end here is just phenomenal. It's absolutely brilliant. And there he is, and on
I'm walking down the street, so yeah, 'cause I sold my car.
Hey everyone! 2 weeks ago I filmed a story with a man, a very brave farmer from Beit Lahia in the north of Gaza Strip. He was farming his land because he wanted to produce food.
We came here with one clear purpose. The purpose is to settle the entire Gaza Strip, not just part of it, not just a few settlements, the entire Gaza Strip.
You're not going to say or do anything that's going to jeopardise or compromise their position. And the position of the British establishment, the UK media, the mainstream media, if you want to call it that.
You know, I mean, sure. I know more about what you do, and you don't even have to ask me how or why or anything, just by looking. You know, then you'll ever know about me, ever. I mean, I could tell you, you know, I'm not a folk singer, and explain to you why, but you wouldn't really understand. All you could do, you could nod your head. You would nod your head. So I'm just as good a singer as Caruso. Have you heard me sing? Have you ever heard me sing? Oh, you see, right there we have a little disagreement. I have to be just as good as you, a good singer. You have to listen closely, but I hit all those notes. And I can hold my breath 3 times as long if I want to.
Whatever colors you have in your mind, I'll show them to you, and you'll see them shine. Whatever colors you have in your mind, I show them to you, and you see them shine. Stay, lady, stay. Stay with your man a while.
To all the ladies in the place with style and grace, allow me to lace these lyrical bushes in your bushes. Who rock grooves and make moves with all the mommies. The back of the club, sipping Moet is where you find me. The back of the club, macking holes, my crew's behind me. Mad question asking, blunt passing, music blasting. But I just can't quit because one of these honeys Biggie got to creep with, sleep with, keep the F a secret. Why not? Why blow up my spot? Cause we both got hot. Now check it. I got more Mac than Craig and in the bed. Believe me, sweetie, I got enough to feed the needy. No need to be greedy. I got mad friends with Benzes. See notes by the layers. True fucking players. Jump in the Rover and come over. Tell your friends jump in the GS3. I got the chronic by the tree.
Stay, lady, stay. Stay with your man a while. Why wait any longer for the world to begin? You can have your cake and eat it too. Why wait any longer for the one you love when he's standing in front of you? Lay across my big breast bed.
Straight up, honey, really, I'm asking. Most of these niggas think they be macking, but they be acting. Who they attracting with that line? What's your name? What's your sign? Soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up from behind and ask you what your interests are. Who you be with? Things to make you smile. What numbers to dial? You gonna be here for a while? I'm gonna call my crew. You go call your crew. We can rendezvous at the bar around 2. Plans to leave, throw the keys to little C's. Pull the truck up front and roll up the next blunt so we can steam on the way to the telly. Go fill my belly. A T-bone steak, cheese, eggs, and Welch's grape. Conversate for a few, cause in a few we gon' do what we came to do. Ain't that right, boo? Forget the telly, we just go to the crib and watch a movie in the jacuzzi. Smoke L's while you do me.
I long to see you in the morning light. I long to reach for you in the night. I long to see you in the morning light. I long to reach for you in the night.
Imagining Benzes giving ends to my friends and it feels stupendous. Tremendous cream, fuck $1 and a dream. Still tote gas strapped with infrared beams. Chopping O's, smoking line optimals. Money, hoes, and clothes, all a nigga knows. A foolish pleasure, whatever. I had to find the buried treasure. So grams I had to measure. However, living better now. Coochie sweater now. Drop top BMs, I'm the man, girlfriend.
Do you care about what you're saying? How could I answer that if you got the nerve to ask me? I mean, you got a lot of nerve asking me a question like that. Do you ask the Beatles that? Do you ask the Beatles that?
I said a hip hop, the hip it to the hip hop, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike and I like to say hello. Up to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first I gotta bang bang the boogie to the boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the bang bang boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought 2 friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Check it out, I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the rest is FLY. You see, I go by the code of the doctor of the mix, and these reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1", and I'm tons of fun, and I guess to a T.
Even everything that you make, your technology and what have you, because I know you'll point to that. You always point to that as your great contribution, the West's great contribution to the world, technology. But even that was and is only achieved through bloodshed. You can't even figure out how to make something useful without having to enslave or massacre people in order to do it. Your whole technology sector was created for the purpose of war and carnage. Your technology came from your military industrial complex. All of your innovations were in the killing sector before they were ever in the commercial sector. Why you can't even make one single smartphone without tearing through 6 continents, enslaving workers in Africa, choking the air in Asia, draining South America's water, and burying the entire global South in toxic waste. If immorality was radiation, we would all drop dead the moment we use any of your technology. And burying the entire global South in toxic waste.
Welcome to What the X. It's Friday, the 29th.
Welcome.
I was just checking that you could hear me, because for some strange reason I can't hear myself. Do we know why? There's always something. Am I there? No. Well, as long as you can hear me, that's the main thing. Oh, I see. I can hear myself now. I updated all my audio software yesterday, and there's been a few computer teething troubles. Good morning, Xers. It's a marvellous full house. Cliffy, John and X, morning all. Last watch before returning to work, so I'm hoping for blood this morning. Whose blood would you like to see, Cliffy? Feel free to offer up who we should be blooding. Loud and clear, says Farside. It's a packed chat in the. I don't even know where to begin to start. If I go right to the top here, Gregor McIntosh says, yesterday was National Day of Mourning for the Native Americans. It was, and a friend of mine, a lady who I met, I don't know her very well. I met her at a Brian Jonestown Massacre concert in Manchester last year when I took Anton, or was it this year? I drove Anton down to Manchester when he had to fly in for the Manchester Psych Fest. They ended up flying into Edinburgh, and he phoned me up and was like, can you drive one of our hire cars? Can you drive me down to Manchester? We've got a gig in 6 hours, which was quite a mad time. But I met a really cool lady down there, and she was a descendant of Native Americans, and she was telling me all about it, and she put a thing up on her Instagram this morning actually, so we'll have a wee look at that in a minute, because she was talking about a massacre that had happened to her family. So that's a nice way to start. Malcolm X is a legend. Matty Ross, morning to you. Arpignon, morning to you. Ikup W, morning to you. Carol Lagerfani, we are honoured. Is this art? I'll let you decide that. And now, just why does this do this? now me, my mouse won't spin. Greetings and salutations. It was interesting, just to say that mashup, Big Bob mashup at the start was by Leoski, who is incidentally also responsible for the background music. I'm playing a lot of Leoski's stuff at the minute because he's a talented chap, but that mashup is a classic by Leoski. a masterpiece, shall we say. It was interesting to see it was interesting to see on the last stream the Battle of Culloden classified as a Scotland versus England clash when that wasn't necessarily true. This is a bit of a pedantic meta argument here. It was a piss take by Stepasaur. I think they're getting a wee bit, taking things a wee bit too seriously here. Let's lighten up a bit, eh? Madam Guy, morning to you. Love this mashup. Is that Leoski's piece? Yeah, it is a masterpiece. There we go. See, I am not alone in considering it so. I wonder why Bob retweeted someone who's a what? Did I? How dare you? What is this? The tweet police? I'm monitoring your tweets. You should get a job for Keir Starmer, mate. Let's ask him. All right, ask me then. I don't know about the super chat. I'm very poor and don't have a lot of money. That's cool. Your love and attention is just as valuable. Morning, Dave Swift. The art of keeping going through the fire. The art of keeping going through the fire in the madhouse at the end of time, as Michelle McKenna would have said and did say. I couldn't agree more. But what's a fabulous way to start this morning. Yeah, we are. We are indeed in a fire in the madhouse at the end of time. But we're all collectively burning together. So let's just accept that if we're going to perish in the flames, that we'll do it communally. You all good for the gig, mon frère? I'm still on the sips. I hope so. We'll just have to. I had a wee rehearsal with Tom yesterday, and then I've got some stuff tomorrow to deal with before we take to the stage on Saturday night with The Blood and Degrassi, who are an amazing band. I've been checking their stuff out. I was aware of them. I never followed them intently at the time. I was kind of in a different realm, but I've been checking out some of their stuff. Absolutely brilliant. So pretty excited for that, definitely. Where to begin? I like that, starting with that Shahid Bolson piece where he was talking about, you know, the contradictions of capital progress and the hidden perils of it. It was exactly synchronous with a discussion that, or I call it a discussion, but an exchange that I had yesterday morning with John White and somebody that he was having a bit of a Twitter spat with, or an ex-spat. Someone who was talking about how we live like kings, even the poor live like kings in this modernity, and who are we to criticise capital? And it's a profoundly ill-informed perspective, in my opinion, and it's a tricky one because I had a look at the guy who was sort of having the argument with John, and he seemed like a perfectly intelligent guy, talented artist, but quick to defend capital. And that's you're kind of doing capital's bidding when you do that. And Shahid Bolson makes that point, you know, about the fact that our devices, these smartphones that we get to use and all the rest of it, they all came from military technology, and all the advances that we have are at first deployed in the core pursuit of capital, which is to grab land and to essentially liquidate humanity, which is what it's doing in an accelerated pace in Gaza, obviously. But our luxuries are more often too connected to misery elsewhere. So how do we balance that? You know, how do we rationalise that? Well, one might argue that we have to look to politics, sadly. But we have to maybe take more responsibility as to which particular clowns and which particular circus is best suited to represent us. Never ironed my shirt properly, did I? That's terrible. Let's get back to cups and string. Well, we might end up. That's where we might end up. Look, I'm not saying we can't be impressed and excited by capitalism. Of course, why not? It's amazing, but it's also dark and terrible, terrifying. Right, let's have a look. I have go back to before the Industrial Revolution. You think so? Who was the climate? What? You know, that's that thing where this person said, you know, I retweeted somebody. It's like the crime. The crime of retweeting somebody, like, or reposting someone's comments on social media. Who was? Point me to this nefarious, terrible person that I've somehow endorsed by association. You, sir, are sentenced to death for the crime of retweeting. There is no going back. Sorry, just get into this meta discussion with it. Who is JK? Who's JK? I don't ken who you mean. I don't ken what you're talking about. What was this? People at me a lot, and I don't get a chance to see exactly what's being said. BBC Scotland News is propaganda for the plebs. Tune into What the X with Vote BPB at 10 AM. Good tunes, good people, good fun. Joking. Alright, okay, well, I've not got time for this. It's too early. Early in the days for the tomfoolery. Right, we've got the PR gang on the case. Yes, it's true. There are good tunes, good fun, good people to be found on What the X. But what was being said here, shall we have a look? I'm losing thrones over the BBC Scotland News telling lies. I'm actually losing fucking friends. Who's porridge drawers? Right, let's have a look then, because there's no agenda. We're all doing this together. This is a communal doom scrolling experience. BBC Scotland is already pushing the line. Well, wait a minute. First of all, this MSM Monitor account, which, if I'm correct, is it's just for priority. Let's be honest about this. This MSM Monitor account is an SNP acolyte. I think it's Ross Colquhoun. I mean, I don't ken if it's Ross Colquhoun, but it's like somebody. It's like some SNP-oid. So what are they? What are they going? It's like propaganda versus propaganda. It's like the Spider-Man meme. What am I supposed to pay attention? I'm not listening to it. I'm not looking at anything that these people say. What was the point? You were just saying that you'd rather listen to what I'm slavering about. This was quite interesting. The Agendalist Collective. I like it. If there was any collective that I would actually want to be part of, an Agendalist Collective would be it. So be it. Here we are. We've created it. Somebody's just... We've lost a viewer watching on... oh no, they've come back again. Right, maybe they'll make a cup of tea or something. Patrick Henningsen, who is a nice chap who I met. I did a wee bit of filming with Patrick a few years ago when COVID was on. He came up for the festival and we filmed a wee segment about madness happening during the festival, so he's a cool guy. And he's been a very strong voice against the Zionist occupation and horror and genocide. I think now we have to, as this year draws in, I said it this morning as well, you know, like it's not I don't think anybody has to. A lot of people find it incredibly difficult to deal with it at all. I've complete and utter sympathy with that. I don't think anybody has to somehow find it in themselves to constantly engage with something that they feel probably completely and utterly impotent and incapable of enacting any change to. But I think if you occupy a cultural position in some way or other, and that you want to be held in the cultural airspace in this current epoch in terms of what's going on, and you're not engaging with this particular issue, I think those questions have to be asked there. I think that's just my personal opinion, but you know, this is a crime against humanity. It's abhorrent. There are no words to describe what we've been aware of, what's been occurring. I've said before that, you know, I mean, this is the paradox that communicative capitalism is powering the whole experience. The madness of it all is being relayed via communicative capitalism. So that's significant, and you know, but most of the terror is being documented on these devices and then transmitted across the planet, and it's very much a case of a kind of SOS without any response. You know, we've seen, if this was happening in your community, if this was happening in your locality, and you had the means to document it, to film what was occurring, either the immediate events or the aftermath of an atrocity or otherwise, you presumably you probably would film it. You know, you would film the destruction and devastation that was occurring round about you. And these amazing reportage people like Wizard Bazan and these type of people, that Motaz guy that was there for a while at the beginning. I don't know. I think that I don't see the difference between what's happening there. I don't think, you know, we had all these very kind of like lauded. We've always had a rich culture of lauding war correspondents. Who's the famous guy that did all the Vietnam shots and that? Robert, what's his name? And then even in sort of our own British kind of tradition, you have like Kate Adie and everybody like that. You know, we've always had this kind of like deferential respect to war correspondents and the risks that they undertake in order to send back that reportage. You know, even when you think of like Dennis Hopper's character in Apocalypse Now, you know, there's always been this sort of archetype of the brave war reporter. Yeah, Fisk was great. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of Fisk, but Fisk was fantastic, totally. But we have these incredible journalists and these incredible brave souls in Gaza, you know, doing that, and they are largely overlooked. Their work is largely overlooked by our mainstream media and also our established commentariat, our fourth estate or fifth estate, whatever you want to call them, you know. It truly is. This has been the event of an event of intellectual cowardice. I think it's been a time of profound, incomprehensible intellectual and cultural cowardice, and it's been, you know, those who have been willing, especially those with platforms who have been willing to speak up And the argument might be like, you know, well, what difference would it make? Well, what would it make a difference? You know, what if nobody spoke at all? What if nobody said anything? Anyway, I digress a bit, but it's I think it's a time where it's clear who's been willing to put their humanity first rather than their own narcissistic self-interests. That's my perspective on it. I thought, you know, something I'm always intrigued by is when people appear in the chat. When people appear in the chat and they say, "I'm sorry, I'm late." This is a routine reaction from regular Xers, and I'm quite flattered by it, I have to say. And I think it's authentic frontier gibberer says, "Sorry, I'm late. Bad sleep. Hope I've not missed any barriness." Well, you obviously have missed some barriness because you're late. But I wouldn't like to say Loki deserves I don't know what to say about Loki. Loki humbles. I feel humbled by Loki. I think that let me just, where's my thing? 100%. Loki is someone that it's almost, I can't really get my head around just that guy's position. First of all, he is a brilliant artist, right? He's a fantastic artist. He's a fantastic performer and writer and artist. But his commitment to his people and to his cause, you know, it's been consistent throughout his entire career. And his position throughout this is phenomenal, and he deserves just unending respect for his position and his reportage on it. So yeah, an incredible guy, phenomenal guy. I couldn't agree more. Also, full support to Palestine action and youth demand and all these groups. You know, it's like you know, it's an interesting thing. It has been we've had quite a long period of there's been a real split in the culture where we have had a long period of a nauseating irritation of identity politics and the kind of woke becoming a pejorative. You know, like in the early days I was very reluctant to use the term woke, and it was very much like right-wing folk who would go on about cultural Marxism and stuff, like another oxymoronic idiot term, and I always found it a bit irritating. And then it becomes reified. I've spoken about this before, that essentially like the archetype, the individuals that represent that kind of irritating aspect of these sections of the culture, they kind of become the thing that they're accused of in some way, because it becomes a sort of they become a sort of stereotype in one way or another. And it is also a pathology of narcissism and of social media, and the pathology of social media narcissism and what goes on with that. But one thing that I have been very heartened by, because it only ever does come from the students, from the younger people who kind of have that period in their life where they've got the time to be kind of activists, or like, so we have had a situation where the genocide has levelled, I think, that sense of where that activism would be distributed. So I think we had a long period of time where it became very vulgar and narcissistic, but I think there has been a levelling where, you know, this is kind of like been a wake-up call. So I sense that there's a degree within those younger generations, that there's a degree of self-awareness because of the genocide, and I've got a lot of respect for these young people, and even the students that are occupied. That, like, inevitably it is always going to be a student movement, whether it was Vietnam or whatever. It's always going to be that section of the society that forms that vanguard of rebellion against something. So I think we have to be very, very careful to the extent at which we condemn young people as being kind of like all part of this woke thing, or you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll use that term now pejoratively, not a lot, but I'll use it pejoratively. I used it deliberately when I made the film about the Vampire Castle, because that is an example of that, of what that bourgeois liberal narcissistic left is, and it still is that. Let's not pretend it's anything other than that. Let's not suggest that the left has somehow made any significant inroads into connecting with the working class. Quite the opposite, which we'll look at right now. Good rising, Bob. What the ex-family indeed. Why don't we just all pitch in, right, and get a massive chateau somewhere, and just let's make a commune, right? And we'll just we'll grow fruit and veg. We'll start a cult, right? Let's have a cult, right? We'll not have any leaders. Let's just have a What the X chateau or a What the X castle somewhere, right? And we just we'll end up like with a David Koresh vibe. We'll get armed guards on the watchtowers and that. He's up for it. We'll grow loads of mushrooms and loads of weed. Have you ever been to Egg? Have you ever been to the Isle of Egg? The DMT domain. You Call That Radio says, I think woke has turned into a parody now of things that usually boomers don't like. As Captain Hot Knife says, there was never all this violence during the war. There was never all this violence during the war. Turned into a parody now of all things that usually boomers don't like. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think language is important, and it also, I think it's important to recognise as well that we are in an accelerated time frame. So there's a sort of gestation period. There's a period where it's like terms expire in terms of what their impact is and what they mean. And how resonant or meaningful they are at a given time. So, like I said, I wouldn't use the term woke for a long time. I thought it was a reactionary right-wing term, and it was used by racists, and it was used by people to kind of, but when I say it was used by racists, it was used by people to dismiss maybe people that were on the left, or that were, because it did, the origins of it, the epistemology of it is that or the etymology of it is that it comes from black civil rights. I think essentially that's where it started to come from. But then it gets confused and it gets pulled into all these other things, and then you have this very nauseating middle class activist class that kind of then become to symbolise and represent what that is. So it's very easy to castigate and categorise in a particular way. What's this? What was the exact thing that Hot Now said? Yeah, but I think that's true. It has kind of moved into a parody, which is probably the right thing as well in some ways. I think because its sense of it being offensive or something like that has depleted as a result of that as well. You'll notice there's a real what's the term, symmetry between, maybe not symmetry, but there's a real correlation between this movement that emerged, this the gender critical movement against the trans, kind of pro-trans thing or whatever, and it's like whatever your actual position on that is, and I think a lot of people have become tired by it, and kind of it's quite a kind of like, it's not even so much a provocative subject matter now, it's just a kind of like nauseating subject compared to the greater horrors that are going on. But there's definitely a large section of those very prominent, what they would refer to as gender critical voices, the Graham Linehans, the J.K. Rowlings, the people that have positioned themselves so predominantly anti-trans or anti-this. Now, it's not, don't get me wrong, the point I'm trying to make is that those people have either in a crypto sense or an overt sense, essentially been pro-Zionist. And I think you have to wonder about that. Wonder about who is it you really want to be. Whose opinions are you comfortable basically being associated with? And if you've got people there who are so opposed and so repulsed by confused sections of the culture that they're willing to assimilate with essentially Nazism, that disturbs me. That I find that difficult to get my head round. Well, there we go, eh? Slavering away, killing time. Patrick Hennison put this thing up. It was a guy. He was an anti-Zionist Jew who lives in Palestine. I'll just play it. It's a short little piece. I'll just pause this a second. Did that not pause it? Let me see if it plays. The joys of the internet. What the X, eh? Oh, that's good. Elon Musk's platform really delivering for us this morning. I don't know why that's not playing. Right. Well, we'll not bother with that now. This is a kind of slightly. I was talking to Tom about this last night. That whilst we've got them. Okay, the Authentic Frontier Gibberer says this, right? He says, that's ropey logic with associations, a tool often used by the other side. And I also do agree with that. You see, it becomes a bit complicated. It is that thing of going like, are you culpable of being, just by your... It is a very difficult area. I accept that. I do totally accept this, right? But, for example, let's take Graham Linehan as an example. Graham Linehan is one of the most publicly outspoken anti-trans voices. And let's say that Graham Linehan has some sensible points to make about medicalisation of children, or the nefarious profiteering interests of pharmaceutical, sort of like big pharma interfering with children or getting involved there, medicalising kids. Am I here? Other aspects of trans ideology, the kind of normalisation of quite sort of strange new concepts about gender and identity being propagated and seeded within young minds that aren't yet developed. I definitely have big issues with that. For a long time I ignored all this stuff. I thought it was very reactionary. I thought it was very much a section of the right that were keen to kind of like, and evangelical Christians and all the rest of it. And I thought, nah, but there are huge issues with this whole area that are a problem. So are there things that Graham Linehan might say that I would potentially be in agreement with? Yeah, there probably are. Do I find Graham Linehan to be an utterly repugnant human who displays no public sense of empathy or emotion, and his almost his vulgar revelation in the suffering of Gazans? Yeah, he does that, and therefore, because he's like that, I find it almost like I don't want anything to do with that person. I think that person's a total screwball. I think they've got serious issues. So then you have to sort of say, well, are there not other places where you could maybe look towards investigating or looking at the issue that he seems to have made his de facto self? I'm probably slavering a bit here. I don't know if that makes any sense. He jumped the shark with Zionism. It would be good of him to shut up about about Palestine. He chose a big fight. He should stick to one. Had to block him. There you go. Maybe you should just take the mic. It sounds to me like you're articulating what I was thinking better than I am this morning. And again, that thing of almost, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's a bit like, this is what social media allows, is these kind of rather sort of strange people from other parts of the culture to suddenly start sort of opining greatly on certain issues. A bit like Lawrence Fox, you know, a shit actor who was in Inspector Morse has suddenly become this avatar of right-wing agitation. Whilst I'm on that, let me just remember here, that because this is something I think that we all need to be very, very conscious of. Well, first of all, it's the heterogeneity of social media. So this girl here, Sophie Rain, I don't know who she is, I saw this last night. Sophie Rain reveals she's making $4 million per month. That's $48 million per year. And that's from selling her pussy on OnlyFans. So, teenage hole and genocide. Welcome to the now, that's what I'm saying. I don't think we can disassociate the vulgarity of the times. That when we've got a live stream genocide, the absolute horrific. You know, if we had seen one image of the way in which these children have been assassinated and murdered by Israel. If we just saw one of those images in the past, it would have disturbed us. There are tens of thousands of these children have been slaughtered and massacred, and this type of imagery has been normalised in our psyche. And at the same time as capital is providing, you know, profit essentially from the liquidation of these human beings, the other area in which capital is normalised, I mean, I made this point when I ran against Robertson, and I made it in my kind of declaration of Parliament, where I said that, you know, if you feel that OnlyFans is a legitimate career option for a young person, you know, this is an indictment on our culture and society. When people start to defend capital, you say, well, wait a minute, we've reached a point where people are getting, you know, they can't afford to eat, but, you know, the idea that your daughter should go and sell her body on the internet to the pervert that lives next door, or even the one that's a member of your own family, like, how fucked up is this? But this is the culture that we're saying is okay. And you know, so you've got these young girls, and what is the message? You know, inevitably it's like being a football star, isn't it? It's like for every I was going to say Wayne Rooney, but I'm not sure that's I'm not sure that's the physical comparison that we should be looking for here, you know. But for every Ronaldo or whatever, you know, there, how many other young failed footballing potentials are there? You know, nobody's ever going to make it. You know, however many others are just like grinding their way out in the lower leagues. You know, on cold Sunday afternoons. It's not a legitimate career option. And you've got young girls looking at this lassie going like, oh, I can sell my pussy and I'm going to make £48 million a year, $48 million a year. It's like, you're not going to make $48 million a year. You're going to end up being exploited, and you're going to end up being traumatised, and you're going to end up extremely fucked up and probably on drugs, and fuck knows what's going to happen to you, you know? So this is really disturbing, like, you know. And don't get me wrong, I know what it takes some Mary Whitehouse approach to this, but I just think that, you know, this is a really sad nadir of society and culture that we've found ourselves in, you know. There's the other girl, the one that I was going to, in fact, I put it in my bookmarks because I was like going, God, that's just mental. And it was like, this girl, she's everywhere at the minute. This girl that Bonnie Blue, she's like this upper class lassie.
I think that's brilliant. Like, to have that much of a good relationship with your son, or, you know, for the son to have that much of a good connection with their dad, I think it's fantastic. Too many people, especially 18-year-olds, I know when I was at school, would argue with their dad.
What is it? So,
have you slept with a father and son at the same time?
Yes, yeah. I think
great,
that's brilliant.
Fantastic, right? Yeah,
like,
and this is promoted. This is like, this lassie like fucks everyone, and it's like she's being heralded, and it's that strange thing where, you know, we could only speculate on what abuse actually happened to her for her to end up in this way. No doubt in 10 years or 15 years time, if she's still alive, she'll write a book about what did actually happen to her, and then it'll be too late by then, you know. But she's this idea that this is in the pursuit of exposure and you know, fame. For what? For fucking sucking off and fucking every dick that you get near, you know what I mean? It's bizarre. But this is the society that we're currently existing in. But I think the point was that I I don't think we can disassociate what's going on with the genocide and what's going on with this hyper-pornification of culture. I think they're related. As I was saying, Tom was saying last night, you know, in some respects it is all porn, and it's all the libidinal drive as well. You know, in many ways, the Netanyahu's kind of like erectile rage, you know what I mean, is as much part of the libidinal drive. It's kind of like this is the problem. I'll just come out and say it, like men are the problem, right? We are the problem. I don't think we're the problem in some of the ways that we're often accused of being the problem, but in some ways it is true. You know, it is kind of mental, like, you know. And I think this aspect, you know, in Israel, there will be there'll be a real orgiastic fucking mentality going on there. You know, they're going to be fucking like really pumped up. There's going to be a lot of crazy shit going on there because they've got to justify what they're doing. It's dark times, people. So I was scanning Musk's page because I saw something that concerned me. Are you surprised? Where was it? He tweets so much now. He's so prolific. I should have bookmarked it. I'm sure I saw him. Let me see if I can. Have I missed it? Let me see. Hold on a second. Who the fuck is this? Normalised behaviour through trauma, yeah. A lot of the TRAs use the abortion subject to claim, guided with bodily autonomy to claim they are more feminist than TERFs. It's a performance. They do the same with the Palestinian flag. I'm probably inclined to agree with that, to be honest. I do find the TERF thing nonsense. It's such a stupid word, you know. I've said it before. Like, I have jokingly sort of said, you know, look, I'm a by my own admission, you know, a bit of a chauvinist. I wouldn't want to say I was a misogynist, right? But, you know, I'm a casual, maybe culpable of casual chauvinism or something. Fuck knows, I'm not perfect, right? I'm just a guy, right? And I'm not fucking trying to be a feminist or anything like that, you know what I mean? But the women that blew my mind when I was a kid were Jermaine Greer, people like that. When I first saw Jermaine Greer when I was probably about like 12 or something, and I saw ripping guys a new arsehole in that, I was like, wow. I was like, I'd never seen a woman I'd never seen that before. And so I like people like Jermaine Greer were like the women that really made me fucking really respect women and like really be like, women are fucking like, I don't know how to describe it. I was just like blown away. And when I saw this like wave of feminism that started to attack Jermaine Greer and reject Jermaine Greer, I just couldn't get my head around it. I'm like, are you mental? Like, it's people like that literally, like, you know, they fucking like carved space in the jungle for you to even breathe. It's just weird. I could never really get my head around it. Anyway, the thing, I don't know where this was. I'm sure I saw. I am sure that I saw Elon Musk quote tweet something. I thought it was this morning. I should have bookmarked it. I'm sure I saw him. I'll get to it, right? I'll get to the point why I'm saying this. Let me just look. Where No, I don't know what it is. I thought I saw Elon Musk. Check this. Bookmarks would help with the flow. Oh, well then. Sorry to not be performing at a pace that's meeting your standard. I must do better. Will do better. Okay, Musk basically. I saw Musk endorse reform, and he basically was going like, something was like reform are going to win the next election or whatever, and Musk was like, absolutely yes. And what we know is that Musk and Farage and all these cats are trying to disrupt. Well, it wouldn't be difficult to disrupt our current pathetic polity, but we have to be conscious that reform do seem to be have the backing of, the rogue media mentalist himself. And this is as much a failure of the neoliberal left as anything else. Nigel Smith says, yep, I saw that tweet from Musk. Well, could somebody send it to me if you know where it is? Because I don't know why I couldn't see that. Maybe it was the other day that it popped up and then I didn't notice it. But reform are repugnant, disgusting establishment right wing. But let's just say on some level that they're fascist, right? Because ultimately on a profound and deep level they are. And no matter what, however many times a stopped clock is right, it's wrong for most of the time. And if you're going to have reform mopping up sections of the working class, which is what's already happening, let's be honest about this, that's not going to work out well. And it's true that right now what we have are neoliberal bureaucrats. This Labour Party are pathetic. Our neoliberal political class are scumbags, are cowards, they're opportunists, they're professional managerial class, they're professional middle class, they're everything that's wrong with everything. They're complicit with the genocide, they're pathetic, they don't have a backbone between them. But people like reform, and if they do start to mop up sections of the working class and start to whip up racial tensions and bigotry and prejudice, that's what's happening and that's what's on the cards. I mean, you've got a billionaire mentalist like Musk fanning those flames. That's not going to work out well for us as a society and a culture. So that's all I'm saying, is that we can't have that. We can't have that. And that there's a local council election happening in Edinburgh again, in the same place. In the same place that it just happened. And now we've got two candidates, because Marco Biaggi resigned, and the Lib Dem woman who got in, who I was down there filming when the face of genocide never got her seat, she's resigned because she said she was a local candidate, but she was actually going to live in Dubai. Now, if that doesn't explain to you the contempt that these people have for us as the electorate, what does? But the message isn't getting through, and the reason it's not getting through is because most people have given up the voting, right? Which is totally understandable. But there's still a small section that will vote, and they're the section, that's the demographic that the political class target. So that's why in the Collin and Fairmere Head by-election, the Liberal Democrats spent about, Mark Wilkinson reckons, I think about £12,000 or £15,000 on leaflets. And there's a problem with that. Do you know what the problem with that is? It's illegal. You're only supposed to spend £2,000. That's the limit. But what the Liberal Democrats know, as what all the rest of the political class know, which is what you and I and everyone else isn't meant to know, is that the Electoral Commission don't give a fuck. It's like fraud, right? See if you buy something on Gumtree, because it's happened to me, and it's too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? That's the old adage. If you buy something, right, and you get stung, or you get stung by some fraud, because and then you feel like an idiot, and you're like, whatever, but then you try to report it, and it's like, oh yeah, fraud, yeah. So it doesn't matter how much it is. You could be frauded out like 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever, 500 quid. One, you're not getting that money back. Two, nobody's got to do anything about it. Fuck all. There's no resources. So technically it's illegal, but nothing's going to happen. So what basically happens with the Electoral Commission is that the Liberal Democrats broke the law to get their candidate elected. Their candidate got elected, but then because of the scandal of the fact that the candidate was elected on the fact that they were a local resident, when in fact they were selling their house and moving to Dubai, yet they were still going to be a councillor for Edinburgh Council. This is what I'm trying to explain, right? They've got nothing but contempt. They've got contempt for the electorate. Scott Graham's popped up in the chat. I like Scott Graham. He's the barbiographer. He goes around pubs and he documents pubs. He's a really good, he performs quite a vital sort of historical service, to be honest. You should follow him. He's barbiographer on X. He says the reason why Musk and Reform gain traction is because of the total absence of a left populist party, and that is correct. I can't dispute that. But that's not cool. It's not cool that they're going to gain traction, and they are gaining traction, but it's the same thing. The rules that are supposed to be in place, people think, oh, the Electoral Commission, like, oh, it's a big deal, and it's like, it's all bollocks, right? It's just a kind of paper defence, like Ofcom or something, like, there's nothing is ever going to get done, like, nobody's going to do anything about it. So the Liberal Democrats broke the law, but what they did was they peppered the constituency with about 15 to 20 leaflets, right? But they didn't pepper the whole constituency. If you live in Oxgangs, you probably didn't even get one leaflet. Why is that? Because they know nobody's registered to vote there and nobody gives a fuck, right? Instead, they peppered all the wealthy residents of Collington and Fairmill Head and these places. So if you went and chap on any doors there and say, how many leaflets did you get from the Liberal Democrats? They'll be like, oh, I've got like 20 leaflets. 20 leaflets, yeah, you better go and vote, right? So they went and voted, right? So the point is this, that basically there's 2 council spaces coming up in January. The vote's on the 23rd of January. I don't know how many people are involved on What the X. We have, like I said before, by the time every episode between YouTube, X, although my YouTube figures are totally doctored, there's no, like, we know this, right? Because of the subject matter that I choose to unashamedly engage with. However, I think we should try collectively to think about what could we really do? What can we do, right? We've not got any great resources or otherwise, but I'm still going to do this event. I wanted to do it earlier in the year. There's been a few reasons why I wasn't able to do that, but we're still going to do this. We're still going to have this event where I'm going to address some of these issues. But we really need to think about how can we figure out a way to interrupt this very entitled process that is occurring. Because they're taking the piss. They don't even turn up to the hustings. They just don't care. A voter registration drive in Oxgangs would be a good idea, but then you've still got to present people with the notion of why would they register to vote, and who is it or what is it they're voting for. So that's something to consider. Well, what I'm going to say is this. I'm going to say this. What else have we got here? Morning, Suraseth Wong Chomph. Zambo TV, morning to you. Morning to you. If I still had... Did I have something on the screen there the whole time? I don't know if I did. Right, morning. Fire. Surely an apology. There's no need to apologise. There's no need to apologise. Right, listen. I've got some news for you all. Next week on What the X. On Monday. There's not going to be any What the X on Monday. Hold on, far side. People will not vote if they feel those elected are not accountable to those who elect them. Stream an event from and about Ox gangs and foster a direct audience to make it about them. There are lots of things that we would like to do. I think that's a good idea. There are lots of good ideas. What we need to do is develop the resources to implement them. So we need to think about how that can be done. So Monday, there is not going to be any What the X on Monday. On Wednesday, there is not going to be any What the X on Wednesday. On Friday, there is not going to be any What the X on Friday. So I'm going to go now. Tomorrow night I will be with Gutter Blood, so long as this, well, I will be with Gutter Blood. And so I'm looking forward to that. But you will have to check my socials to find out what is happening with What the X for the coming period. So on that note, I would just like to say thank you all for joining me this morning. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. I do actually. I love the fact that people tune in. I love the fact that people join me in the mornings. I love the fact that people support the show and share the content. And I would encourage everybody who does enjoy What the X, if you're a lover, if you're a lurker, whoever or whatever you are, to continue to do that, to continue supporting what we're doing here, to tell your friends and family, to ask people to support the project, and keep an eye out on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to my Discontent YouTube channel, subscribe to my Patreon please, donate to the Ko-fi if you can, support What the X, and keep an eye out for what will be happening next as we enter the winter of discontent. So on that note, I'm going to bid you all farewell, and until next time, I'm going to leave you with Chronics. Here Comes Trouble.
Welcome, why, hey. Chronics, left and right, just soldiers are come, left and right, baby. Ooh yeah, boy. And them say here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. I start recruit soldiers for Selassie army. Ay. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger, welcome the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. You're not for axes who at the general issue in a warning. Job people them a ball, said them tired of mediocre. Evil a go fall when we tried in Ethiopia. Believing from down, cause them life no easy boat. Even Bantan said it's not an easy road. Operation occupy the motherland, calling all soldiers to kind each other along. From creation, he writing a job plan, but Chronics can't do it alone. So I'm recruiting soldiers coming from near and far, I choose executing Selassie I works and be Rastafari true. And them say here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. I'm gonna start recruit soldiers for Selassie army. Aye. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger. Welcome the savior, welcome the Rasta youths. You know for axes who are the general issue in a warning boy. Waving the banner red, green and gold. It is such a honor prophecies unfold. Discovered on stones, on trees and scrolls. And even in the stories that Jesus told. Whoa. Rasta youth must inherit the earth. Can't sit down, Jaja send me fi work. Bring the fire in a room, Jaja send me fi purge. But I can't do it alone. Rasta recruiting soldiers coming from near and far. I choose executing Selassie I works and be Rastafari. Choose. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger. Sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youth. I and I start recruit soldiers for Selassie army. Hey. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger. Welcome the Savior, welcome the Rasta youth. You know for axes who are the general issue in a warning. Hey. Left and right, the soldiers are gone. Left, right, the soldiers are come. Hey. Could I never throw it down, no boy. Yeah, and we say left, right, the soldiers are come. Left, right, the soldiers are come. Left, right, the soldiers are come. Marching on, boy. And we say, here comes trouble, my friend. And here comes danger. Rastafari send me come. I say we sent by the Savior. Here comes trouble, my friend. Here comes danger. Whoa, whoa. Ooh, nah. Hey. And them say, here comes trouble. Here comes the danger. Here comes trouble. Hey. Boo-ah, 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 boo-ah. Here comes trouble. Here comes the danger. Sent by the Savior. Welcome the Rasta.